What's up, guys? It's me, Hunter from Reptile, and I have some new things before we get to the topic I'm going to talk about. This Monday, I'm going to have another meeting at UAB. The last meeting that we were supposed to do got canceled, so basically, I'm going back to another meeting in UAB. That's good to know. Also, there's been other things been going on, like for example, there's been talks about where people have been owning endangered species illegally, which is definitely not good at all. But at least the people in the Fish and Game are trying to fix that, making sure that doesn't happen again. Yeah, there's an article about that. It's posted on my Reptile Events Facebook page. Speaking of Reptile Events page, I have reached almost 500 likes. I've reached to 491 likes. So yeah, I am getting more likes on my Facebook page and stuff. So let's talk about our new subject. That would be the snake bite crisis. If you didn't notice, according to snake bite crisis, there's been 138,000 people have been bitten by snakes every year. And yeah, there's an article that tells you this. And it's about why people get bitten by snakes. And this happens every year. Yeah, this happens every year. 138,000 people get bitten every year. Why does this happen? Well, the reason why this happens is because people have been messing with them. They've been harassing them. They've been killing their environment. And on top of that, they've been trying to kill them. Yeah. When they're trying to kill snakes, and that provokes them. So yeah, if you provoke a snake, it'll basically just bite you. Yeah, that's what happens. The same thing with spiders. Spiders will actually bite you if you provoke them. And yeah, so what makes it, so all in theory, what makes a snake dangerous is you actually provoke it. So that means if you go up to it and get in some space, that's provoking it. That's actually provoking it. The snake is telling you, get away from me. Do not get too close. I'm warning you. But then you start getting too close to it, and then bam, you get bitten. That's what happens. That's called provoking it. So you're basically provoking it. And yeah, and that is actually scaring the snake. Yeah. Now I've been messing with snakes for years and years. I've been handling snakes ever since I was a kid. And also been handling snakes ever since I've been going out in parks where I start doing herping and catching wildlife and even taking pictures of wildlife and stuff. And I've seen how snakes react. I've seen how their behaviors are. I've learned their behaviors and everything. I've seen what they like. Snakes don't attack unless you provoke them. I noticed because when I was actually right close to a timber rattler, it never rattled. I was 5 feet in front of it, and it never rattled. It was just slithering across the road, minding its own business, and I was like 5 feet, like really close to it. And then it never rattled. It only started rattling when I grabbed my tongs and use my snake tongs to grab it to get more pictures of it. That's the only time when it started rattling, because it was provoked. So yeah, the snake was letting me know that I was scaring him. He was letting me know to back off. So yeah, but of course I have to get more pictures and stuff. That's what I do and stuff. Another thing we have to talk about is that antivenom. Now people die from snake bites a lot. There's been a bunch of people that are dying, and the total people that die have there's tens of thousands of people have died from snake bites. Yes, people have died from snake bites every year, like I said before. And there's a reason why. Because of lack of treatment. Also, they're pretty much way too far from the hospital, and they pretty much may not have time to get to the hospital if they get bitten by a snake. Now, when it comes to lack of treatment, that means the antivenom is sometimes not effective. Yeah, sometimes antivenom cannot be very effective depending on how much dosage is of antivenom you're using, and on top of that, are you using the right? Is the doctor using the right antivenom for the person? Yeah, yeah. There's always questions like that. If the doctor is using the right antivenom for the type of thing he's been bit by, yes, that always happens too, which is known as the wrong medicine. So yeah, when someone uses the wrong medicine, then that means the person's not going to be treated. It's going to die faster. And that means the fact that that's definitely not going to be good for him or her at all. Yeah, this also happens in private keeping as well, like when they actually keep a venomous snake. Yeah, when someone keeps a venomous snake, they also get bitten too. That's right. Yeah, private keepers do get bitten, and this happens all the time too. But that's because they make a mistake. Yeah, when you make a mistake with a venomous snake, you basically get bitten, and that's how it goes. It's a life and death situation when you're keeping a venomous snake. When you're keeping venomous snakes or venomous spiders, it's a life and death situation. So that means if you make one wrong move, you get bitten for sure. And according to some people's theories of snakes, they say there's actually the most venomous thing in the world. But the real answer is the most venomous thing in the world is basically the one that just bit you. That's basically the famous quote from Albert Koritz, aka Viper Keeper. And I actually love that guy when it comes to, watching his videos of his venomous snakes, interacting with them and everything. And on top of that, he always shows his collection and stuff. That's another thing I love about venomous keepers, showing their collection, showing what they have, showing their like and stuff. It really amazes me what they do and stuff. Yeah. I also love showing my collection, my background. As you can see in my background, you should know what I have right here. Even though I don't own that many venomous snakes, I only own one, and that's my false sword cobra. And according to the bites of this snake, basically cause redness, swelling, and necrosis. However, it's poorly delivered because due to the fact this is a rear fang snake. Yes, rear fang snakes poorly deliver venom. But there are some rear fang snakes that can produce deadly venom, known as the red killbacks, twig snakes, and the boom slangs. Yeah, those snakes, they'll definitely really mess your life up. And I've never handled a boom slang in my life, but from what I've read, they are very venomous. And from my previous video that I've mentioned before, the venomous / rear fang video, where I mentioned the fact the boom slangs open their mouth wide open to a 170-degree angle. Yes, they can actually do that and get the venom right into you instead of just chew on you like any other rear fang snake does. So yeah, they open their mouth 170 degrees and they'll definitely inject that venom right into you. Yeah. So yeah. Another thing I'd like to mention is when it comes to antivenom. Antivenom cost, I'm going to talk about here. Yeah, antivenom always costs expensive. It's very expensive to get. The most expensive antivenom I've ever heard of has to be Crofab. And the most expensive I've ever heard about that antivenom has to be where a family has spent $500,000 worth of antivenom to get their son treated with that kind of stuff. Now, sometimes Crofab is not very effective. Yes, there's an article where it says Crofab is not very effective. And basically, there are a list of rattlesnakes where it's not effective on. For example, there's actually one rattlesnake I know that's not very effective on, which is known as the Northern Pacific rattlesnake. Yeah, the Northern Pacific rattlesnake is not, it's actually one of the species where Crofab is not very effective on it. And Crofab is basically an antivenom that's meant for all rattlesnakes in the United States. But they actually did some research on this antivenom, and guess what? It's not very effective on all rattlesnakes in the United States. Yeah, because the article stating the fact it's not very effective on the North Pacific rattlesnake. That's not good. Definitely not good at all. Yeah. Now, I've worked with rattlesnakes before. I've seen their behaviors and stuff. And what I've experienced, I've noticed they're not aggressive. They're not aggressive in the slightest. They only strike when they're provoked. Like I said before, snakes will only strike if they're provoked. That's how it goes. So basically, a rattlesnake will give you a warning, let you know you're too close. You better back off. They basically use a rattle and let you know that you're too close. So they will bite. They will bite if you get too close. That's how it goes. Yeah. And the other thing I'd like to mention is that we are way too far away from the hospital. Yes, there are people that are actually too far away from the hospital. If they get bit by a snake, they basically have no time to get there. Yeah, they sometimes have to figure out situations like being airlifted to the hospital if the hospital doesn't have the antivenom for that person. And on top of that, if they're like 200 miles from the nearest hospital, then basically they're just doomed. They're just definitely not going to make it if they're that far. Because some venoms from snakes are extremely deadly to the point it can kill you instantly. And that would not be good. At all. Definitely not good in the slightest. And snake bites happen everywhere. They happen around the farms. They sometimes happen around in rural areas. They also happen when people go hiking forests and stuff. So you always gotta watch your back and make sure you're aware of when a snake is coming across you. Because you never know when a snake actually comes across you and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Now let's go back to the cost of antivenom. Some antivenoms actually cost $1,000 depending on where you live. Here in my state, they're actually like $5,000 per vial. That's expensive. That means it means you're going to save a lot of money for antivenom. And that can be really difficult to do. I mean, saving all that money up for every vial. And you probably need like 20 of them when it comes to them snakes and stuff. Now, I do have access to antivenom, but the only access I do have is basically native venomous snakes because that's all we have here. That's all we have here. The venomous snakes are native here, and that's the only antivenom we have here so far. Because we barely have any people here in the state that own non-native venomous snakes. Because we have a very strict law about owning non-native venomous snakes. That's how it is around the state. So, you have to get permits to own a non-native venomous snake in the state. But they're going to be kind of strict on that. But as long as you follow requirements, like I said before in my previous videos, you can get the permits. You want to own those snakes. But also I should mention this. Owning venomous snakes is not for everyone. It's definitely not for everyone. It's not meant for everyone that wants to do it because it's a choice. It's a choice that people want to make. I mean, it's not always the greatest choice to do. I mean, it's a choice if you want to do it or not. I mean, it all depends on your opinion if you want to do it. I mean, you have the choice of owning non-venomous snakes, and you probably won't have any venom to worry about. Or you may have a choice of owning venomous snakes if you want to. That's your decision. The reason why I want to own venomous snakes is because, one, for research. Two, I do have experience and also been working with venomous snakes for years. A total of 4 years to be exact. Yeah, I've been working with them since 2015. That's how it goes. And I've been learning about them ever since I was a kid. I've learned about their abilities, what they're like, and not only that, how their behaviors could be, and all that kind of stuff. And the first venomous reptile I ever kept was actually a pygmy rattlesnake. That's the only venomous snake I kept. But I got rid of it and never wanted a venomous snake to come again. And Now the only venomous snake I have right here in my collection has been a full square cobra, despite the fact he's very fanged, and there's actually little to know about the venom. But anyway, I was bringing this topic up about snake bite crisis. So like I said before, snake bites happen when snakes actually are provoked. Another thing is, antivenom is very expensive, depending on where you live. Some places have for $300, some places have them for like a lot of money, like $1,000 or $2,000, depending on where they are. So, but if you get the ones that are cheap, like $30, they're not very effective. Yeah, they're definitely not very effective. And some people cannot afford antivenom, and that's definitely not good for the person at all. I mean, if you can't afford venom, they're going to die eventually. And that's definitely not going to be good at all. When it comes to being bit by another snake, also including it too. So yeah. 138,000 die by being bitten every year. So 138,000 could have been bitten every year by venomous snakes. And that's been going on around the world. 138,000. Wow. And thousands of dollars have been spent on antivenom. Yeah, because they have to treat them. So how do we prevent all this? Well, the only way to prevent this is not to provoke the snakes. That's the only way to prevent the bites. Is not provoke them too much. Yeah, even though that happens all the time. So it is kind of hard to not provoke them. So yeah. But anyway, guys, I just want to bring this topic up. This is about the snake bite crisis. This happens every year. So, yeah. So there's my stuff to talk about and everything. If you ever want to check out the article, the description of it is actually in the description below. If you want to check it out, there's a link to it. So yeah, there's actually a link to it in the description box below if you want to check it out. I'll tell you all the details of how the snake bite crisis actually started and everything. Also, another thing I should mention is a shout out to Word on the Snakevine podcast. If you ever want to check out their podcast, you can do so by going to the link in the description box below to check out their podcast. I'm subscribed to them, and they have a lot of details on snake venom, snake research, and everything else. Their podcasts are really good. I love listening to their podcast. I've already listened to 2 episodes from those guys that are on that podcast, and 2 of them are actually good friends of mine, Ross Deacon, and so as Ed Hey, Ed, if you're watching this, I cannot pronounce your name right. Sorry, I just can't really pronounce your name right. But anyway, pronounce your name right. The last name. It's very hard to pronounce. But anyway, you should check out those guys too. They have really good information about the research and all that kind of stuff. I hope you enjoyed this video about the snake bite crisis. Anyway, guys, I'm Hunter Ivy from Reptile, and I will see you guys later.